Remember, I'm not trying to hurt. I'm trying to, you know, help. In the standpoint of any of this constructive negative criticism comes to actually anybody that's part of AEW, they try to fix it to at least make their show at least in the semblance of any casual audience, you know, watching this. Because all I've been hearing was a semblance of hype and no delivery over the last few days, the last week of professional wrestling, when we had Impact having the biggest thing like their AEW World Champion, and the standpoint of freaking literally most of their old school TNA original top guys coming back in the company, and they're doing dumb crap, and yet AEW wants to lower their standards over collabing with. I'm not saying that they're not potential stars, but if you have EC3 just getting released from the WWE just to to come back to Impact and then suit himself over to Ring of Honor, there seems to be a problem. And one of those issues that we're not even going to set ourselves over with AEW at the standpoint, we're here for something else, and that is in one of the weakest parts of AEW, and it's kind of corny because it's bad when you have a bad faction, but it's really bad when you have an incompetent jobber faction that don't even know the identity it's setting itself out to be, and I'm talking about freaking Retribution. Retribution gets a lot of slack over their crappy, inconsistent, like weird, dark cultish, new gen gimmick, not knowing what their narrative is, not knowing what their goal is, having inconsistent themes of trying to be a deep cultish group that's brainwashing and trying to get guys over to a different path, and yet they still lead up to losing matches one-on-one or tag. The only subjugated goal that actually got them to be consistent was when Brody Lee was TNT champion for like a month. That was technically it. Came over losing in a dog collar match just for Cody to get it back. And now I don't even know where the hell Brody Lee is, and is back into square one of just Evil Uno talking with a whole lot of random jobbers that really have no particular character into them or that much relevancy to even win matches. These guys barely got storylines. They opened up when they came to AEW, when they started airing for the last few weeks. They were feuding with freaking SCU. It took them until the middle of the summer to feud with freaking the Nightmare Family, the literal top dogs on AEW, where Cody likes sucking his own sledgehammer prop. That he literally thinks that it's that much of a revolve around he's that much of a big draw around AEW, other than when Miro came, when Sting came, Shaquille O'Neal came. And the only thing is that it looks like he's intertwining himself along with trying to feud with both Shaq and Sting in the near future. By God, Christ, that sucks. And now I have to deal myself with these inconsistent jobber factions that are probably going to lose to more jobberistic indie teams. And the only thing is the group sucks. You don't know what their primary narrative is. You don't know what their particular theme is. They call themselves the Dark Order, but you have people like John Silver coming around looking like weird midget freaking comedic relief that consistently jobs. This guy had a pay-per-view match with Orange Cassidy on pay-per-view. This is like a lower tier mid-card match on AEW Dynamite, let alone the main event at Dark. And they are so factuating with trying to get indie gimmicks over. It's not even going to be the last time we're probably going to see John Silver on pay-per-view. We had literally MJF that I don't mind, but unless he's with a bigger star, the point of him just feuding with a lower card is not going to evaluate his stock. It's just going to make him another random mid-carder when it looks like they had something potential for MJF when, they had him beating Cody Rhodes on pay-per-view. So you suspect a lot more for him other than main eventing Dynamite against freaking Orange Cassidy. And now we have the Dark Order that come around with literally the largest growing group with Anna Jay, Alex Reynolds, John Silver, technically Cole Cabana because he still lunges himself around him, Mr. 10 and Mr. 5, and they do nothing. They have no specific goals. They never have intertwining storylines. The only thing interesting, I guess, at the standpoint is them trying to target Hangman Page for no effing reason. There's no reason why they should be focusing on them. They never think of building their group up. They never think of gaining more momentum, momentful wins, intertwining like, the top guy in the company that obviously shows himself as a top creator, like top booker, and has most control out of Cody Rhodes. Remember when they literally choked out Brandy Rhodes in public? That should be like a freaking top storyline, and then Cody like demands bigger over like having stuff involving Sting and Shaq, while the Dark Order just gets shafted around. Their identity sucks, and the more I see their BTE crap, their indie-rific work rate crap that has no no facilitating over with their own gimmick. I don't like when you have a gimmick and you don't stick with it, like interacting with your wrestling. Like when you're called the Dark Order, you should be more potent in trying to sell moves, take injuries, do weird stuff, and make sure you get heat from the crowd. You're not doing enziguri, super kicks, and German suplexes with discus lariats. That's not going to make you sound like a unique character. That's going to make you just sound like another guy on the roster. And especially where we have a whole lot of guys signed up on AEW that obviously some lose their mark or relevance, like Zack Ryder did, or Miro, or any other random lower underachieving mid-carder that was better off in WWE in the first place, then there would be no point. The Dark Order suck. There hasn't been any relevant storyline that they looked at least like competent in all sides. There's no memorable matches. There's no quotable freaking promos. Their wrestling matches can be decent but suck. They can't tell a story. They're all jobbers. Cole Cabana came from one of the top free agents to being a jobber intertwining with the Dark Order for no reason. And they're supposed to be relative with Brody Lee. Brody Lee's barely on television. And then we have the John Silver and Alex Reynolds, some gay midgets. I'm sorry for saying that, but they are. They're gay. They come around looking sus, freaking jobbers coming around just doing quick indie spots with enziguris and German suplexes. Then they do comedic spots as well. And why do they take off the masks? I thought the whole thing was supposed to be a cultish gimmick, and then they don't even follow through with it. I like Anna Jay. The chick seems attractive and talented, but why is she wasting herself? They don't even bring up a legit reason why Anna Jay's part of the group, other than we need a reason to beat up Brandy Rhodes, so let's just get a random white chick that we find from the backstage. And then we got Evil Uno, some crooked masked teeth, fake luchador, fat pregnant Pokemon built like a barrel retard that obviously has no character. The same thing with I forgot his name. He just looks like a taller John Silver that wears a tunic. And I'm trying to understand why these guys are on television. I'm trying, man. They never look competent. They barely win their matches, and they're never part of a potent storyline other than Brody Lee. And I understand that it's supposed to be like cannon fodder or some stuff like this, but Evil Uno and his tag team partner came out first, and they did nothing. They feud with jobbers. They don't look competent, and they can't even stick up to their own identity. They're just there to be there. Do I feel like some of them, if they were individual talents, they would be a bit better? I guess. I guess for John Silver, he can be some kind of midget. Some weirdo short guy. He seems comedic. He seems to have a bit of a charm. He's well built, and he seems likable. I don't understand why they don't do stuff with him more. I don't know why Brody Lee's there. Mr. 5 and Mr. 10 are just there to be jobbers. Cole Cabana, I always fought, and people were like, "Oh my God, he's such a talented wrestler. He tagged with CM Punk. CM Punk's the only reason why he's relevant. You guys are not understanding. CM Punk is the only reason why he's even brung up in wrestling conversations. Other than the hardcore fans that probably waste too much time watching ROH from like from the early or mid 2000s, people would barely know who Colt Cabana is if it wasn't for that stupid pipe bomb. And Colt Cabana is just this permanently mid card, smarky, always with the outsider references, jokish wrestler that shows decent sells, and they bring around him like for the TNT title tournament, and then he just joins the Dark Order later. Where crappy sells, his matches are always bit by bit predictable with mid card finishes, and he has this stupid run up to hook the legs while using his other body to toss them by the sides for a stupid pin that barely gets a 3 count. And you guys could say I'm being too hard to a faction. It's been there since day one of AEW Dynamite. So you suspect a bit more. They try to treat every faction like a comedic relief. It happened with the Inner Circle, and it happens with the Dark Order. What competent group has an identity and they come around just completely soiling it? I don't understand why. I mean, there's been top factions with comedic moments, but at least they had legitimacy. You knew who the characters were, and you didn't mind. Like the main event Mafia, like Scott Steiner and Booker T were in the group, and they're the most entertaining wrestlers you have ever seen. And they had their moments, but they're still legit and look tough enough to at least be like, oh my god, these guys are entertaining. But I know next week they're probably gonna kick our asses. And they have a resume and a look to prove it. All these guys are skinny, fat midgets with no personality or gimmick. At least Kevin Sullivan sticks up for over his gimmick, and he has different ability that makes him threatening. You know how sad it is when oh my god, that I don't want to say that, but I know damn well I'm gonna regret it. Who's Anthony Bowens? Oh my goodness. It was a faction from 1995 that feuded with Hogan because he wasn't getting because they wanted to build up Hulkamania more up in WCW, and it did not work. Kevin Sullivan's team was jobbed out. I'm trying to remember, man, and had the Giants as well with the Yeti crap, and that looked more competent than whatever in the hell. I think it was called the Legion of Doom or something like that. It just looks so dumb, and I'm trying to like understand why people. Oh, the Dungeon of Doom. Yes, the Dark Order are a piss poor indie version of the Dungeon of Doom. And sorry, that was a really slow Google search, but that's literally it. And you can just say that this is Cody's like because obviously he was part of scouting talent with Omega and the Young Bucks or Tony Khan. But if it took you this late to get Miro, Brian Cage, Lance Archer, the guys you can be building around over the Inner Circle and make a storyline, and you have the shitty Dark Order trying to recruit a guy that's just a rip-off James Storm, I think there's a major problem. And the more you just go about it, like, tell me a person other than Brody Lee that's potentially going to be a decent guy that's probably going to stay for like another year. Because probably enough, and it is a business decision. If no one's getting over and no one's getting getting any buys for you, what's the point of them staying? What's quotable about Evil Uno? What's quotable about Anna J? What's quotable about Mr. 5 and Mr. 10? Colt Cabana. People are going to obviously probably keep Colt Cabana. Boom, boom, Colt Cabana. Boom, boom, no personality. Boom, no, you suck. You're only there because indie fans like you. That's about it. Other than that, if you were in my wrestling fed, I would fire you. So bad. Like, I feel like this Colt Cabana adds nothing to a wrestling fed. At all. It took them a minute to have Matt Sydal. I don't know why. And over all of this stuff, the they do nothing. They have no storylines. They have no character. I just want to sum it up for you guys, because if like that mini rant that I had on the Dark Order, this is not as brutal as this, because this fake Dungeon of Doom, piss poor piece of shit OVE, like Ministry of Darkness on acid with GTS wrestling fusion dancing with this crap, it gets me agitated. And if this is over the lower standards of having a guy named Stu Grayson in your Dark Order faction gonna make you guys popular, I'd rather see Team Canada actually, I'd rather see that. I'd rather see Team Canada reunite. I'd rather see Decade reunite. And it's bad enough that TNA, late TNA, when they were like still on, when they were like broke as hell and they had no Spike deal, they had more competent factions than you guys, like OVE, LAX, Decay. Like, you gotta be kidding me. But that's just my rant on the Dark Order. I feel like they should just try to like separate them or something, man. There's already too many groups as it is, and not that many guys like advocating on young talent, and they just have no character. They don't put them on competent storylines, and most of them barely take something as interesting as like a cultish following group seriously. It's just bad, and especially when the AEW wants to be like YouTube indie-esque while they're on a prime time television set. Nobody knows most of the established guys other than Cody, Chris Jericho, Sting, and Jack Swagger, and probably a tiny bit of the Young Bucks. Other than nobody cares about New Japan and Ring of Honor. You need to do something to establish most of the characters. I'm just saying. But that's it coming from me. Hopefully you guys liked the video. That uh just screw the Dark Order, man.